Hello and welcome to the show this evening, and thanking you very much for taking your time out of a very busy schedule to sit down, walk, or do whatever you're doing while listening to this very, very important discussion, one man's discussion about the constitution of our nation, great nation of Zimbabwe. I have created this series of videos to discuss or talk about the Constitution and how it can be used by most of us, many of us, to be particularly a tool in order to, in our fight, or rather in our moving towards a more true form of democracy that works to serve everybody within the nation. So many of us are more familiar with revolutionary songs than with the constitution of our nation. We know every chant, every revolutionary slogan. Some of us even know which slogan to say depending on which politician is standing in front of us. But if I were to ask you, what does Section 67 of the Constitution say about your political rights? Most of us would draw a blank, and that's not by accident. While the revolution was a significant part of our society and history, the Constitution we have is a document that emerged from our freedom, a document that ensures that we maintain that freedom. Freedom is not something that is acquired once and then forgotten about. It is a fundamental aspect of our society that must be continuously monitored and observed. Without being aware of our rights, some individuals may exploit them for their personal gain. We've seen that happen a lot of the times where those in the know, of course, some will use that knowledge that they have for the good of the rest of the people, for the greater good. The utilitarian aspect of it, we draw documents, we draw rules and regulations and laws that have to serve the majority. But because we are human beings are more prone to gravitating towards a more selfish, self-serving end than a more egalitarian form of existence. We've had this in our past, in our history, Ubuntu, wherewith we have this saying, or this belief that umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu, munu munu, because of other people. In other words, unu, where if one of us is unwell, all of us are unwell. If one of us is hungry, then all of us are hungry. Our freedom is very important. Freedom is not something that once acquired like we did in 1980 when we acquired the freedom, then we must forget about it. But freedom is a fundamental aspect of our society that must be continuously monitored and observed. Because if we ignore our freedom, then we stand a chance of being abused or abusing others because we forget what the goal is. The goal of Chimurenga was for a just and fair society for everybody, black, white, whoever. It doesn't matter whether others had more power than others. It was just that we have a society where there is absolute adequate respect for everybody, as well as mutual respect and benefit for everybody. Everybody benefiting from the resources of the nation. Everybody being served by those that are in power. Everybody contributing in some way or the other. So without freedom, we are in trouble. Without being aware of our rights, like I said, some individuals may exploit them for their personal gain. Others, elected candidates, may find ways to circumvent the Constitution's provisions to enrich themselves because there has to be equality. They might use it to safeguard their power or take away our rights. Therefore, understanding what our Constitution guarantees us is as crucial as knowing our ABCs. In this discussion, I'll explore the essence of our Constitution and identify those who are and who are not authorized to perform many of the actions that we frequently complain about in our daily lives, is what they're doing right by the Constitution, or is what they're doing not right by the Constitution? You see, the liberation struggle gave us political independence, but the Constitution was meant to give us personal independence. The freedom to live without fear of arbitrary arrest, the freedom to live without fear of losing land because you support the wrong party, or because you're poor, or live on land coveted by an investor who is rich, without fear that a minister can wake up and change your fate with a pen stroke or just verbal decree. They like what they see and they're going to take it. We have seen things like that happen. But are they constitutional actions? You see, freedom is not an event. Freedom is not a holiday. Freedom is not a slogan. Freedom is a system, and that system is written down in black and white and in the Constitution of our country, where we all need to observe that which is written in our Constitution, because it's a document that dictates what each and every one of us do within the ranks in our society. Why knowing the Constitution is as basic as knowing your ABCs, you ask? Well, I got the answer for you. You're in luck today. My thinking cap is on. You just can't say it. Well, have you ever wondered why we have gone through much of our lives just complaining about things like vane masimba akawandisa, mapurisa ari kushandisa power zvisiri izvo, hurumende haisi kuita basa rayo, takatorerwa marights edu, mashefu vari kutidzvinyirira, and so forth and so on? Why do we say those things? We do say a lot of those things, but there is something that we could be doing that's important. Listen carefully. We could be looking up in our Constitution, what does it say about that which we are complaining about that which Shefu did, about that which my neighbor did, about that which my parent, my child, my auntie, my uncle, the employer, the employee did, the police, the soldier, the judge, the jury, the executioner. Well, we could be asking what everybody is doing, whether it's constitutional or not, instead of resorting to the daily complaints or launching rants and raves, complaining, yelling, shouting, writing. We could write about it. We could complain about it in writing. But with a constitutional basis, we have more of a leg to stand on, or two, or three, or four. No? So knowing and understanding what the dictates of the constitution of the land are is actually a very great advantage for us. Because meanwhile, we are complaining, those in power, they study the Constitution line by line, and not to protect your rights. No. But sometimes, and most of the times, oftentimes, to find clever loopholes so that they can go around it, they can skirt around the Constitution. If you don't know the rules of the game, you are not a player. You are the ball that's being played. If you don't know the rules of the dinner table, you're not an eater. You are the food. So you better learn to understand what the document that everybody is mandated to observe and obey within our country. We have to know what it says. And when somebody does violate it, then you come back and say, what does the Constitution say about your action? I know you are a policeman. I know you are a judge. You are a minister, whatever. What does the Constitution say? The Constitution is not just for the politicians. It's a contract between us, the people, and those in power. It tells government what it can and cannot do. It tells the police how far their power goes. It defines who owns resources between the state and the people. It does so many things. It outlines your right to protest, to speak, to own property, to vote, and to refuse abuse, even from those in authority, in power, in positions of authority, in power. You refuse if they are about to abuse you. If you know your constitution, you stop begging for your rights and start exercising them on anybody, whoever it is around. It doesn't matter. The book of rules of laws and expectations in terms of actions and behavior of the people in Zimbabwe was written, ratified, we all agreed, and it's up. It's live. Why does it matter knowing the constitution for an everyday Zimbabwean? You ask again, got the answer for you. So we think politics is just about elections and rallies, but constitutionality is hidden in everyday life. When a combi is impounded without due process, that's unconstitutional. Or is it constitutional? When someone says, "Hapana nobada minister," that's not constitutional, is it? Look it up. When land is taken without compensation or due legal process, when it's snatched, that's constitutional territory. When youths and mothers with little babies get arrested for attending holiday celebrations on private property and held for months without trial, for holding placards up, yet the Constitution says we honor the Constitution, cherishing freedom, equality, peace, and that peaceful protest is legal. That's a constitutional crisis disguised as public order. You must understand, sometimes when people give these talks on the television, on X, on Facebook, who are in position of power, be aware that they might say things, but not all of those things are constitutional. So in the rest of this series, this is what I'll do. We'll have to look at what exactly our rights under the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Who is supposed to serve who? The government or the citizens? Are we supposed to serve the politicians or the government? We'll find out. How do ordinary people, how does you and me use the Constitution as a shield, not just as a slogan? How does a Constitution die? Not by amendment. You will be surprised, but by ignorance. A Constitution usually dies when people are ignorant of its dictates. So all that we'll cover in this series. Don't go away. Little by little, we'll chip away, and get to a point where we will have some semblance of understanding of what our Constitution says. So in closing, I just want to say, just as we know the chants to our liberation songs, political catchphrases, slogans, whatever, we have to understand that we had a revolution that gave us the Constitution. But then for our revolution to keep living, we have to apply the dictates of the Constitution. Then we also have to understand that we need to guard this freedom and independence that we obtained. Somebody died for it. So many people died for it. I have family members that died, that were close to me during the war, after the war, and fighting for the sake of the equality, fighting for the equality of many of our fellow Zimbabweans. You might have people that died while serving, while looking for this freedom that we have today. And some of them are still alive today. That really went out there, lived through it, experienced hardships, bullets racing by them, bullets missing them, flying all over around them, comrades dropping dead, wounded, dying, bleeding out into the soil. So we ought to do right by them today by protecting the legacy of this thing that they fought for, this freedom that they fought for, where we live in a land that's ours now, with equality, justice, and peace. For if you don't know the Constitution, I'm afraid somebody else is already using it against you, and there's nothing you can do about it until you learn how to present the Constitution until you learn the Constitution and know your rights. Until next time, thank you very much, and we shall chat.